In today's video, I'm going to be showcasing 3 different ways to transport your bike by car. All 3 of these methods can be done without the need for a bike rack and should work well for most small cars. To demonstrate, I'll be using my Argon 18 road bike, which has a size large frame, through axles and disc brakes, and the car is a 4-door Volkswagen Golf. The first method I'll be showing you is my preferred way of transporting my bike, and that's to put the bike in the back seats. To fit in this space, the front wheel needs to be removed. The axle is simply screwed out of the frame, and I like to store it inside the wheel for transport. I also make sure the disc brake rotor is facing away from the seats during transport. Then I carefully maneuver the bike into the back seats, making sure the gear side of the bike is also facing away from the seats, since you don't want grease from your chain getting all over your car's interior. Slowly maneuver the bike into place, and once it's in, insert your disc brake spacer into the caliper. This will prevent the pads from getting stuck together if you accidentally press the lever. Now close the door and you're on your way. Once you get to your destination, we just do all of the steps in reverse. Remove your disc brake spacer and then carefully remove your bike from the car. I usually support my bike in the air while I remove the wheel, but you can also just place it on the ground if you need. Insert the wheel into the frame, install the through axle, tighten it up, and you're good to go. I use this method around 90% of the time since it's quick, easy, and works in every car I've tried it with. But sometimes cyclists aren't comfortable removing the front wheel, and that's where method number 2 comes in. For this method, open up the trunk and fold down the rear seats. Then lift your bike, rotate it flat, and carefully slide the fully assembled bike into the car. Make sure the gear side is also facing up for this. Because my bike is size large, the tire didn't quite fit inside the car, so I needed to move to the front seat, move it forward a little bit, and this gave me more room to move the bike further into the car. Then slowly close the trunk and you're on your way. Unpacking is very easy with this method. Just open the trunk, remove the bike, and you're good to go. This method may not work for all cars, so experiment with your bike to see if this will work for you. The final method I'll be showing you today puts the bike fully in the trunk and requires the removal of both wheels. This is the most challenging method, but it is useful if your car is full of passengers or you want to transport 2 bikes at the same time. Start by removing the front wheel and then carefully put the bike forks down on the ground. Next, loosen and remove the rear wheel and also place this to the side. If you're concerned about scratching your bike's paint, put down a cloth or mat under the forks. Now lift the bike and slowly maneuver it into the trunk. I like to fit the seat into the trunk first and then rotate the rest of the bike into the trunk. Pay careful attention to the rear derailleur and make sure it's not contacting any part of the trunk. Next, push the handlebars into the trunk if they're sticking out at all. And this is what my bike looks like fully inside the trunk. Now we can get the wheels and place them in front of the bike. Make sure the wheels are deep enough inside with no pressure being put on the brake rotors or spokes, and then carefully close the trunk. For unpacking, we'll have more reassembly than previous methods, and I'll show you an alternative way to install the rear wheel. First, remove both wheels out of the trunk and then carefully wiggle the bike out of the car. The rear wheel will go on first, and another way to do this is to place the forks of the bike inside the trunk. This supports the bike and makes it easier to line up and install the wheel, although this may not work with all trunk styles. Installing the rear wheel will often involve touching the chain or derailleur, which can spread dirt and oil onto your hands or clothing. To avoid this, I really prefer using hot wax for my bike chains, which is much cleaner and makes working on your bike much easier. I'll link down below to my other videos detailing this chain waxing process. Once the wheel is on, you can rotate the bike out of the car and then install the front wheel just like in method number 1. I often use a combination of all 3 of these methods, and I usually find I can get away without the need for a bike rack. Let me know which method works the best for you, and happy riding.